In the United States, a common definition of terrorism is the systematic or threatened use of violence in order to create a general climate of fear to intimidate a population or government and thereby affect political, religious, or ideological change. This article serves as a list and compilation of acts of terrorism, attempts of terrorism, and other such items pertaining to terrorist activities within the domestic borders of the United States by non-state actors or spies acting in the interests of or persons acting without approval of state actors. In November 19, 2019, remarks made by Matthew Alco, Deputy Assistant Director of the FBI Counterterrorism Division. Alco defines domestic terrorists as individuals who commit violent criminal acts in furtherance of ideological goals stemming from domestic issues. Although acts of violence by domestic extremists consistently meet the definition, no U.S. criminal charge for domestic terror exists. Rather, the phrase is an FBI investigative category used to classify four various types of extremism: racially motivated violent extremism, anti-government, anti-authority extremism, animal rights, environmental extremism, and abortion extremism. On September 11, 2001, the United States suffered 4 coordinated terrorist attacks by the Islamic terrorist group Al-Qaeda, according to a 2017 report by the U.S. Government Accountability Office. Of the 85 violent extremist incidents that resulted in death since September 12, 2001, right-wing violent extremist groups were responsible for 62. However, 41% of the deaths attributable to radical Islamist violent extremists occurred in a single event, an attack on the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida in 2016. In 2018, most ideologically motivated murders in the United States of America were linked to right-wing extremism. As of 2020, right-wing extremist terrorism accounted for the majority of terrorist attacks and plots in the U.S. and has killed more people in the continental United States since the September 11 attacks than Islamic terrorism. A 2017 report by the Nation Institute and Center for Investigative Reporting looked at the terrorist incidents in the U.S. between 2008 and 2016. It found, according to a report based on Justice Department figures released by the U.S. government January 2018, about 3 out of 4 people convicted on charges of international terrorism between September 11, 2001 to December 31, 2016, were foreign-born. According to the Justice Department, 549 were convicted for international terrorism, including 254 who were citizens of another country. 148 were naturalized citizens and 148 were natural-born citizens. In a speech before a joint session of Congress on February 28, 2017, President Donald Trump incorrectly attributed these findings to domestic terrorism, rather than to cases in which international terrorists may have been brought to the United States for prosecution. The Triangle Center on Terrorism and Homeland Security and the Police Executive Research Forum conducted a 2015 survey of 382 police and sheriff departments nationwide. Nearly 74% of respondents stated that anti-government violence was their top concern regarding threats from violent extremism, while about 39% stated Al-Qaeda-inspired violence was their top concern. For the past decade, the national conversation on terrorism has largely focused on Islamic extremist acts. However, law enforcement groups have made it clear that Muslim extremists make up a minute percentage of ideologically based terror attacks in the United States. Since November 9, 2001, only about 9 American Muslims per year have taken part in terrorist plots in the United States. In total, 20 incidents resulted in about 50 deaths. A 2012 study showed that in about the same time period, right-wing extremists were responsible for about 337 attacks per year. In total, they killed more than 5 times the number of people killed by Muslims in the United States. The National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism maintains profiles of individual radicalization in the United States, a database containing over 1,800 profiles of individuals radicalized by ideologies since 1948. The database shows that from 1948 through 2016, 40.0% of identified extremists were far-right. 24.5% were Islamist and 17.4% were far-left. While 18.2% were single-issue individuals. In May 2019, the FBI for the first time identified fringe conspiracy theories as a potential source of domestic terrorism, specifically citing QAnon. A June 2020 study by the Center for Strategic and International Studies reported that over 25 years of domestic terrorism incidents, the majority of attacks and plots have come from far-right attackers. The trend has accelerated in recent years, with this sector responsible for about 66% of attacks and plots in 2019, and 90% of those in 2020. The next most potentially dangerous group has been religious extremists. The majority, SA,